KCAU 9 Sports.
What is poppin'? Happy Friday. I'm Alexander Huddleston, and welcome to sports. The 2026 NBA Draft is coming up next month, but before we can get there, today the league announced its list of invites to the Combine, which included a few recognizable names. A pair of Cyclones were invited to the NBA Combine, with both Joshua Jefferson and Milan Momcilovic receiving an invitation. Jefferson was one of the best players in the country this year, being selected as a second all-team All-American, and his presence was sorely missed during the NCAA tournament when he was hurt. Momcilovic was an all-Big 12 player, as well as the best three-point shooter in the country. Jefferson is out of college eligibility, whereas Momcilovic has 1 year left and has left the door open to return to college, although at this point that would not be with Iowa State. Another player who received an invite was Hawkeye star Bennett Sturts. In his final college season, Sturts averaged nearly 20 points per game while adding 4.5 assists, leading Iowa to their first Elite Eight since 1987. Hawkeye head coach Ben McCollum coached Sturts for all 4 years of his college career, and he explained what made Sturts such a special player.
It's been interesting to see his transition. It's been interesting to see how the more he goes up, the better he gets. And the bigger the game, the better he plays. And that's been his whole career. I think that says a lot about his confidence level, his self-esteem as to how he was raised, and how he doesn't put his value on just what he is as a basketball player. It's more of a person and his ability to serve others. And a lot of times when people place their value on what they can do for others, they have a high self-worth, high self-esteem, and then he's able to have confidence in those big moments.
The NBA Combine begins May 10th and will run through the 17th. Also, some big news out of South Dakota State. Jackrabbit women's basketball star Brooklyn Meyer announced she'll be making a switch to volleyball this upcoming year after exhausting her basketball eligibility. The NCAA allows 1 more year as long as you play another sport, but in the last 4 years, as a multi-time All-America honoree and 3-time Summit League first team selection, Meyer led the Jackrabbits to a 4th consecutive Summit League tournament title in her senior campaign and was named tournament MVP. Meyer was also named the Becky Hammon Mid-Major Player of the Year this season. She ranks 3rd in SDSU women's basketball program history in career points with 2,097, 5th in career rebounds with 850, and is tied for 2nd in career blocks with 174. The West Line product will now play middle blocker for the Jacks this upcoming season.
Something you don't see very often, that kind of a switch.
No, and there's been a lot of community reaction, positive, negative, but I'm excited to see what she does. Apparently she played volleyball in high school too for West Line. So
clearly a great athlete. No doubt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hey, stay with us. We'll come right back.
9 Sports.
What is poppin'? Welcome back to sports. Let's end our week off right with some girls soccer highlights starting at Heelan as the number 6 Crusaders hosted the number 11 Tigers of Spencer. Heelan has won the last 4 matchups, but Spencer is yet to lose a game this season. Both teams looking to snap those streaks. Heelan would apply immense pressure on Spencer's Hannah Moser, but she held it down quite well. Good look here on the corner kick, but Moser dives to make the save, and the Tigers would clear it. But final 2.5 minutes of the first, Heelan finally gets one to go from Annabella Reyes. Heelan takes the 1-0 lead at half, but the Tigers would strike back in the second to tie this one 1-1. Then over the hill, the Wolverines of Sioux City West hosted Sioux Center. Both teams have 2 wins in matchup history. Warriors already up 2-0 midway through the first, looking to make it 3, but Dolce Castillo steps up for the save. Keep the game manageable later. Wolverines are knocking as Crystal Castillo Grujalva from range, who cuts into that deficit, puts West on the board. But they weren't done to come back and tie things up as Angela Zimeno with the shot over the goalie, and it's tied at 2 apiece. However, one last look from Sioux Center would not go. The Wolverines avoid the loss, and they finish that game with a tie at 2. What's poppin', Siouxland? Welcome back to sports. Morningside battled their way all the way to the GPAC Softball Championship, where they face Midland in a best-of-3 series. The last time these 2 teams faced each other was last Friday when they split a doubleheader. Mustangs looking to win this series. They get off to a hot start. Mackenzie Harrell would double this one into the outfield. Coming home is Amber Dougherty, and just like that, 1 inning in, the Mustangs take a 1-0 lead. Later, top of the third, it's tied at 1. Rogue pitch allows time for Dougherty again to race home to make it a 2-1 ball game, and that's how it would stay. Mustangs take game 1 2-1. Now that takes us over to game 2. Mustangs looking to get the job done here. Similar start as game 1. Harold doubles it to center field, and it's Dougherty routing third for the first score of the game. Mustangs lead 1-0 in game 2. They would follow that up with a Josie Hernandez RBI. Jalen Noel racing home for the 2-0 lead over Midland. But Midland would fight their way back into a tie game at 3 apiece. With the help of a bunt and a botched throw to first base, Warriors' Maravonk finds home plate to take the lead. And just like that, Midland forces game 3, winning game 2 4-3. Now, game 3 picked up in the second inning. Amber Dougherty singles, and this time it's Jenna Skradsky reaching home plate for the early lead. Jump to the 6th, Midland up 2-1. Harold sends this one out, and Emma Barwick is going to be safe at third, but a throwing error allows her to get up and head home for the tie. Mustangs tie it at 2, but the Warriors would take over from there. Bottom of the 6th, Madison Zach doubles and helps Mara Vonk home to take the lead, and Midland holds off the Mustangs one more inning to win the GPAC title 2-1 after winning 3-2 in game 3. Meanwhile, in Ames, the Cyclones hosted number 23 UCF for game 2 of their final regular season series. Knights already took the win on Friday. Jump to the bottom of the 4th. It's UCF is up 4-0 until this bomb from Carly Ford put the Cyclones on the board, cutting into that Knights lead 4-1. Now jump to the bottom of the 7th. Iowa State down just 1 run with 2 outs. They stay alive with the RBI single from Caden Shepard to tie it at 9 apiece. But with bases loaded, up comes Ford again, who sends this one yard for the walk-off grand slam. Iowa State stuns number 23 UCF 13-9 as they snag their 3rd win over a top 25 opponent this year. Last stop, we head to Penn State as the Nittany Lions host number 2 Nebraska for the first 2 games of a 3-game series. Strong lead late in this one. Nessa McMillan sends it deep to help Jesse Farrell make it back home. The Huskers extend their lead now 8-4. But they were not done. Next at bat, Lauren Kamenzine crushes it over the wall for the 2-run homer. That gives Big Red a 10-4 lead, where it would remain as Nebraska earns their first outright Big Ten title in program history. That does it for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
9 Sports.
It's Papa Zealand. I'm Alexander Huddleston. Happy Sunday and welcome to sports. The college baseball season is nearing an end, but before that happens, the Hawkeyes hosted Illinois for Senior Day. Hawkeyes finishing their series with Illinois, and the Illini get things started with a bang. Colin Jennings with a drive out to center. That ball is gone. That's a 3-run homer, and Illinois leads 3-0. Iowa bats quiet, but in the 8th inning, it's Jackson Frost with the pop they needed. He sends one to right field, and that gets out in a hurry. Iowa down 4-2 now, but they just can't come back and drop the series finale 6-2. Iowa, however, still wins the series 2-1. Iowa softball also trying to stay alive for their conference tournament, and Devin Simon helps them get off to a good start. A 2-run homer to deep center field. It's 3-0 Hawkeyes. On to the 4th, Simon at the plate again. She gets a hold of one again, and that one is also gone to deep center field. Iowa takes a 5-2 lead with that homer. But in the 5th, Anna Moore has the answer. She hits a home run out of her own out to center field. Boilermakers pour it on late and come away with a 7-5 victory. Hawkeyes end up on the outside looking in for the Big Ten tournament. Then Senior Day in Ames as they look to take down the Knights, but UCF is on fire early. Sierra Humphreys gets a hold of one. That is one gone to right center field. UCF's 3rd home run of the 1st inning. They lead 5-0. Iowa State responds in the bottom half of the inning. Sydney Mallett, after a home run yesterday, she has another one today. This one, a 3-run blast, and just like that, the Cyclones are back in it, only down 5-3. But the Knights keep the offense rolling. And then the 4th, Coco Jaimez gets a hold of one out to right center. That is going to score 2 runs. It's a triple. The Knights end this one early, 12-4 in 6 innings. Cyclones are going to miss out on that Big 12 tournament as their season comes to a close. Now back in Sioux City, the Explorers have been announcing some signings they've made ahead of the upcoming season, including a few familiar names making a return to Lewis and Clark Park. The first returner is fielder Austin Davis. The speedster led the American Association with 60 stolen bases and led the X's with 71 runs while batting .257. But along with Davis is another member of the outfield, and Henry George. George, who is tied for 2nd in the squad on home runs with 9. He also was up there as a premier base thief, being 4th in the American Association in steals. You can see a few more names returning on and joining Sioux City's favorite ball club on KCAU9.com. Now, last but not least, it's time for our Sports Zone Top 5 Plays of the week. And as per usual, it was another banger of a week in Siouxland sports. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, we head to SBL for Bishop Healing girls soccer. Daniela De Los Santos slides it over to Jada Douch for the Crusader goal, and that kicks us off. Number 4, it's the same team, different game. Annabella Reyes from range fires it at the top right shelf for the game's first goal. Number 3, it's Unity Christian boys soccer now. Brendan Obank with a laser right over the goal. He can't get there to get the scoring going for the Knights. Number 2, over at Sioux City West, girls soccer down all game. Complete the comeback with the Angela Zermino goal to help the Wolverines avoid the loss, tie it 2-2. And finally, our top play of the week comes from the GPAC baseball tournament in the 14th inning. That's right, 14 innings. Briar Cliff's Grant Devasary sends this one yard, and that's a walk-off 2-run homer for the win. That does it for top 5 plays. And for sports, we'll be right back after the break.
Sports.
What is poppin', Siouxland? Welcome back to sports. It's playoff soccer time in Nebraska, and to lead us off in District A5 is South Sioux hosting Millard South. Last year, these two teams met in the A5 championship game, with South Sioux punching their ticket on a 3-1 win. Jump to the second half, South Sioux already leading 1-0, looking to make it 2. Here comes Xavier Ponce, but the defense gets there just in time to shut it down. Later, Cardinals will be knocking again. Another great look, but Cruz Harrison is going to get up there for the save. Game remains at 1-0. Patriots came dangerously close to scoring several times in the final minutes of the match, but the Cardinals braved the rain and get the 1-0 win, and now face number 1 Elkhorn South in the District A5 championship. Meanwhile, Phase 1 of the 2026 USHL draft kept chugging along. The Muskies bringing in names from not only all over the country, but all over the world. To start things off, Muskies' first-round pick came as no surprise after the team announced its tendered forward Dominic Bednar back in January, which takes away their number 7 pick. But it may be worth it. The Slovakian native scored 100 points across only 35 games in his 2025-2026 season with Seacoast Performance Academy. Now, in the second round, the Muskies made their first official selection of the draft at pick 22 with defenseman Will Johnston out of Chicago. In his 2 seasons with Shattuck St. Mary's, he racked up 65 assists along with 14 goals. Now the Muskies selected well over 10 more players, so a full list of that Phase 1 selection for the Green and Gold Gang will be on our website, kcu9.com. Now, last but not least, earlier today, I made the trip over to Lewis and Clark Park while it was still sunny to chat with members of the X's for Media Day ahead of their season opener next Friday. Last year, the X's made the postseason as the first seed, but ended their 2025 campaign in the first round of the playoffs to the Sioux Falls Canaries, who eventually fell in the championship series. Now, with only so many days available for spring workouts, the Explorers are working hard to get the several new faces acclimated and returners back into the swing of things.
They didn't go the way they wanted to last year, and hopefully, we had a bunch of new guys in the clubhouse. Hopefully they come in with the same attitude, like we need to win a championship, bring a championship to Sioux City, and that's all our expectations. But obviously, like Mongo says, regular season is important, so we got to get out and do what we need to do in the regular season to give us a chance to win the playoffs.
I think for me, obviously I want to have an impact on the field, but my hope more so is to have an impact in the clubhouse, and especially with having rookies and stuff like that, being able to make their transition to pro ball as easy as possible.
It'd be very beneficial to get some of that veteran leadership in this clubhouse. But at the same time, I'm very excited about the youth and the athleticism of this team. We showed well yesterday, but at the end of the day, you're only going to be as good as what you do at 60 feet 6 inches.
The X's start their 2026 season next Friday in Chicago, but make sure you mark those calendars for the X's home opener on Friday, May 22nd. That does it for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Now,
well, what's going on, everybody? I'm Alexander Huddleston, and welcome to sports. Phase 2 of the USHL draft happened today, and the Musketeers looking for pieces to build a championship roster, beginning with their round 1 selection that was used for forward Dominic Bednar, who they tendered back in January, but he wasn't the only move the Muskies needed to make to meet the team's needs.
For us, it's more about investing in a player that we know will be in our lineup that next year is good enough to play in the league, and then really more than anything, it's about the second-year payoff, so to speak, right? So it's the first-year struggles for the second-year payoff. Feel pretty good about it. So obviously, we have a pretty good stable of returning defensemen. So we didn't have that need at the start of the draft. We felt like we added a goaltender. We feel like now we have probably the best goaltending tandem in the league with Jack and Hugo. And we were able to add a couple of really key forwards positions, especially centermen that we were looking for early in the draft. And we really like our group. And we're going to be like a hard-working, physical group next year, especially up front. We have an experienced decor, and we have great goaltending. We think we're going to be really competitive next year.
Now the players will make their way to Sioux City for rookie camp and start fighting for spots on that squad. The college softball regular season wrapped up last week, and now it's time for conference tournaments to start ramping up. First, we take a look at the Big Ten bracket. The Hawkeyes just missed the cut for an appearance. However, the Huskers stole the show with the #1 seed after earning the program's first ever outright regular season title. They received the first round bye and will play the winner of Michigan and Ohio State on May 7th. And we head over to the Big East, where Creighton holds that 3rd seed and faces #2 UConn. That game also May 7th. Winner goes to semifinal. Loser faces an elimination game. Finally, up in the Summit League, #4 South Dakota taking on #5 Kansas City on May 6th at 1 p.m. Winner of that one faces 1 seed Omaha. Then only 3 hours later that same day, classic rivalry between South Dakota State and North Dakota State will take place for a round 1 matchup. Winner moves on to the host team, #2 St. Thomas. That is for sports.
All right.
KCAU 9 Sports.
What's poppin', Sula? Welcome back to sports. Busy night for high school spring sports. So let's get started with girls soccer over at Sioux City East as the Black Raiders hosted Sergeant Bluff Luton. East has gone 21-0 against the Warriors since 2011. SBL looking to snap that streak. Late first half, East already up 5-0. Corner kick is brought in by Jasmine Aguilar Maldonado. Quick touch by the senior, and East goes up 6-0. Not long after, Raiders looking for 7, but Lillian Riker steps up to shut the drive down. But that would only last so long. Minutes before half, ball would get to Aliana Nolasco, and she would score one of her 4 goals on the night as East blanks SBL 10-0. Next, we head over to Leeds as the North Stars host Heelan's girls team. Scoreless in the first half until Heelan gets things going in this corner kick. First touch not there, but Daniela de los Santos is there to make sure it gets in for the game's first score. Later, Crusaders invading again. Goalie misses the save, and is de los Santos there again for goal #2. Heelan was not letting up. Another shot on goal. This time, Ava Peters with the score. And when it rains, it pours. Crusaders score 5 times in the second half to win 5-0. Then flip the script. We head over to Heelan for the boys game. Midway through the second half, Crusaders lead 2-0 North with an opportunity, but Caden DeMoss fires it over the goal, and the Stars are still hunting. Keeping that hunt alive, though, was Crusader goalie Aaron Garcia, who was an absolute wall for Heelan, racking up 13 saves and keeping the Stars at bay with a shutout performance. Heelan wins it 2-0. Now off to the Princess City Pocahontas for the Twin Lakes Conference track meet. We'll start with the girls' long jump. Emmitsburg's Rachel Shanny took first with a jump of just over 17 feet 8 inches. Shanny also won the girls' high jump with a winning height of 5 feet 2 inches. On the girls' 800 sprint medley relay, Sioux Central takes the blue ribbon with a time of just over 1 minute and 55 seconds. In the boys' 800 sprint medley, Southeast Valley blew everyone off the track, winning by almost 3 seconds over second place GTRA. In the boys' 100-meter dash, Southeast Valley's Caden Showers held off his teammate Logan Jayski to take first place. And in the girls' Pocahontas area's Danica Draith in a near photo finish over South Central Calhoun's May Ridgely for first place. That is it for sports and all your highlights.
And we'll be right back after a quick break.